Michael Shawn Hickenbottom, better known by his ring name, Shawn Michaels, is an American professional wrestling personality, television presenter and retired professional wrestler. He has been signed to WWE as an ambassador and occasional referee since December 2010. He wrestled for WWE, formerly the World Wrestling Federation, from 1988 until his first retirement in 1998. He held non-wrestling roles from 1998 to 2000 and resumed wrestling in 2002 until retiring ceremoniously in 2010. In the WWF WWE, Michaels headlined major pay-per-view events from 1989 to 2010, main eventing the company's premier annual event, WrestleMania, 5 times. He was a key player in the highly successful stable, Degeneration X. He also wrestled in the American Wrestling Association, where he founded the Midnight Rockers with Marty Jannetty in 1985. After winning the AWA Tag Team Championship twice, the team continued through to the WWF, and had a high-profile breakup in January 1992. Michaels was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2011. Following his induction, WWE said, "Ask any superstar on the WWE roster who the most gifted sports entertainer of all time is and nearly everyone will have the same answer: Shawn Michaels." Michaels is a 4-time world champion, a 3-time WWF champion and a former world heavyweight champion. He won the 1995 and 1996 Royal Rumbles and is the WWF's first Grand Slam champion. He has won the PWI Match of the Year award a record 11 times. Early life: Hickenbottom was born on July 22, 1965, in Chandler, Arizona. The last of 4 children: Randy, Scott, and Shari are his older siblings. He was raised in a military family and spent a brief part of his early years in Reading, Berkshire, England, but grew up in San Antonio, Texas. As a child, Hickenbottom disliked the name Michael, so his family and friends just called him Shawn. Ever since, he has been referred to as Shawn. Additionally, Hickenbottom moved around frequently since his father was in the military. He knew he wanted to become a professional wrestler at the age of 12. Hickenbottom was already an athlete. His career began at the age of 6 when he started playing football. He was a standout linebacker at Randolph High School and eventually became captain of the football team. After graduating, Hickenbottom attended Southwest Texas State University in San Marcos, Texas, but soon realized that college life was not for him. He then began pursuing a career in professional wrestling. Professional wrestling career: NWA, AWA and WWF. Hickenbottom began to train under Mexican professional wrestler Jose Lothario. During his training, Hickenbottom adopted the ring name, Shawn Michaels. After his training with Lothario, he debuted as Shawn Michaels with the National Wrestling Alliance's Mid-South Territory and Texas All-Star Wrestling promotions in October 1984 at the age of 19. During his time with TASW, Michaels replaced Nick Kiniski in the American Breed Tag Team, teaming with Paul Diamond. Michaels and Diamond were awarded the TASW Tag Team Championship by Chavo Guerrero, Sr. The team was later renamed American Force. While in TASW, Michaels and Diamond feuded with Japanese Force. He also worked for another NWA territory in Kansas City called Central States Wrestling. There, he and tag team partner Marty Jannetty defeated the Batten Twins for the NWA Central States Tag Team Championship, later losing it back to the Battens. Michaels also made several appearances in yet another NWA territory, the Dallas, Texas-based World Class Championship Wrestling throughout 1985. Michaels made his national-level debut at the age of 20 in the American Wrestling Association, once again teaming with Marty Jannetty. The pair were billed as the Midnight Rockers and held the AWA World Tag Team Championship, defeating Doug Summers and Buddy Rose. In 1987, the Rockers were signed by a competing promotion, the World Wrestling Federation. They were fired from WWF 2 weeks later, for a bar incident. They then returned to AWA, but were re-signed by WWF a year later. World Wrestling Federation, The Rockers. The Rockers redebuted at a WWF Live event on July 7, 1988. Due to WWF Chairman Vince McMahon's desire to have his performers carry WWF-exclusive ring names, Michaels and Jannetty were renamed as simply The Rockers. The team proved popular with both children and women. The team was a mid-card stalwart of television and pay-per-view shows for the next 2 years. During this time, Michaels headlined his first pay-per-view for the WWF when the Rockers were involved in the 4-on-4 Survivor Series match main event of the 1989 Survivor Series. In October 1990, the Rockers were scheduled to win the WWF Tag Team Championship from the Hart Foundation, as Neidhart, half of the championship team, was in the process of negotiating his release from the company. The match was taped with the Rockers winning the belts, but soon after, Neidhart came to an agreement with management and was rehired. The belts were returned to the Hart Foundation, while the title change was never broadcast or even acknowledged on television. When news spread, WWF explained that the original result was void due to a collapsed turnbuckle in the ring during the bout. A buckle had indeed broke, but not to a noticeable or dangerous extent during the match. The Rockers continued their partnership, eventually splitting on December 2, 1991 during an incident on Brutus the Barber Beefcake's televised barbershop talk show promotional segment. Michaels superkicked Jannetty and threw him through a glass window on the set of Beefcake's talk show. Jannetty returned to the WWF the following year and enjoyed moderate success before leaving the company in 1994, while Michaels became a prominent villain of the early to mid-1990s as the Boy Toy. The Heartbreak Kid. At the suggestion of Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig, Michaels adopted the nickname the Heartbreak Kid. Along with his new name came a new gimmick as a vain, cocky villain. He was put together with mirror-carrying manager, Sensational Sherry, who, according to the storyline, had become infatuated with him. Sherry even sang the first version of his new theme music, Sexy Boy. During that period, after Michaels had wrestled his scheduled match at live events, his departure was announced with Shawn Michaels has left the building, alluding to the phrase Elvis has left the building. At WrestleMania 8, in his first pay-per-view singles match, Michaels defeated El Matador. Both men had simultaneously eliminated each other from that year's Royal Rumble. He subsequently became a contender to the promotion's singles championships. Michaels failed to wrestle the WWF Championship from champion Macho Man Randy Savage, in his first opportunity to compete for that title at British pay-per-view UK Rampage, held on April 19 at the Sheffield Arena. He failed to win the WWF Intercontinental Championship from Bret Hart in the WWF's first-ever ladder match at a Wrestling Challenge taping on July 21, which would subsequently be made available on multiple Coliseum WWE home video releases. He, however, won the title from the British Bulldog on the October 27, 1992 episode of Saturday Night's Main Event, which aired on November 14. Shortly thereafter, he faced Hart for the WWF Championship in the main event of the 1992 Survivor Series, but lost the match. Originally the secondary main event, Michaels and Hart became the primary main event after the Ultimate Warrior was unable to compete, and was replaced by Mr. Perfect in the tag team match that involved Randy Savage against the team of Ric Flair and Razor Ramon. During this time, Michaels and Sherry split and he engaged himself in a feud with former tag team partner Marty Jannetty. Michaels lost the Intercontinental Championship to Jannetty on Monday Night Raw on May 17, 1993. He then regained it on June 6 with the help of his debuting bodyguard Diesel. In September 1993, Michaels left the WWF. The storyline reason was that he hadn't defended the title often enough. In reality, he had been suspended for testing positive for steroids, a charge he never admitted. After turning down World Championship Wrestling's advances, Michaels returned to the WWF and made several appearances in the United States Wrestling Association during a WWF USWA cross-promotion. He returned to WWF television in November at the Survivor Series pay-per-view, substituting for Jerry Lawler, who was dealing with legal issues, in a match pitting himself and three of Lawler's knights against the Hart brothers, Bret, Bruce, Keith and Owen. He soon entered a staged rivalry with Razor Ramon, who had won the vacated Intercontinental Championship, during Michaels' absence. Since Michaels had never been defeated in the ring for the title, he claimed to be the rightful champion and even carried around his old title belt. This feud culminated in a ladder match between the two at WrestleMania X. Michaels lost the match, which featured both his and Ramon's belts suspended above a ladder in the ring. This match was voted by fans as PWI Match of the Year by Pro Wrestling Illustrated. It also received a 5-star rating from Wrestling Observer newsletter member Dave Meltzer, one of 5 WWE matches to do so. Over the next few months, Michaels battled various injuries and launched the Heartbreak Hotel television talk show segment, mainly shown on WWF Superstars. On August 28, 1994, Michaels and Diesel captured the Tag Team Championship from the Head Shrinkers. The next day, at SummerSlam, Diesel lost the Intercontinental Championship to Ramon when Michaels accidentally superkicked Diesel. This triggered a split between Michaels and Diesel, a storyline that was drawn out until Survivor Series that November. Michaels went on to win the Royal Rumble in 1995, which set up a championship grudge match at WrestleMania 11 against Diesel. As part of the storyline, Michaels recruited Psycho Sid as his bodyguard for the build-up, lost the match, and was attacked by Sid the following night. After this, Michaels took time off, because Vince McMahon wanted Michaels to become a fan favorite. Clique, WWF champion and Degeneration X, Michaels returned to the ring, as a fan favorite, in May 1995. He went on to defeat Jeff Jarrett in July at the In Your House pay-per-view event, to win his third Intercontinental Championship. This led to a title defense against Razor Ramon at SummerSlam, in a ladder match, which Michaels won. Around this time Michaels became the leader of a backstage group known as the Clique. Critics perceived the group to have sufficient clout with WWF owner Vince McMahon, becoming dominant wrestling figures in the WWF for several years in the mid-1990s. Michaels disputes the perception, saying that McMahon pushed only deserving wrestlers. Michaels' fan base was later nicknamed the Clique as an inside reference to the real Clique. In October 1995, he was legitimately attacked by several men outside a bar in Syracuse, New York. Shortly afterwards, at the In Your House, Great White North pay-per-view, Michaels was declared unable to compete by the WWF and forfeited the Intercontinental Championship to Dean Douglas, who in turn Douglas lost the championship to Clique member Razor Ramon. This event has been cited as an example of the Clique holding others down. The next month, during a match with Owen Hart on an episode of Monday Night Raw, Owen performed an Zwiggy that struck the back of Michaels' head. They continued the match, but Michaels collapsed in the ring, supposedly because he had suffered a concussion. The concussion was scripted, which was kept from most fans at the time. A retirement angle was written so that Michaels could take some time off, after he came back from an injury too soon. After teasing a retirement, Michaels returned to the WWF at the Royal Rumble match in 1996, which he wound up winning for a second year in a row, to receive a WWF Championship match in the main event at WrestleMania 12. Around this time, Jose Lothario became Michaels' on-screen manager. At WrestleMania 12, Michaels defeated WWF champion Bret Hart in the overtime of their 60-minute Iron Man match, which had ended in a scoreless tie. On May 19, 1996, Michaels and his fellow Clique members were involved in the incident known as Curtain Call. Diesel and Razor Ramon were about to leave WWF to company rival WCW. After Michaels won a match against Diesel, Ramon and Hunter Hearst Helmsley came to the ring and joined Michaels and Diesel in a group hug. As Diesel and Helmsley were seen as villains at the time, in contrast to Michaels and Ramon, this constituted a breach of kayfabe, as acting out of character, which was rare and controversial at the time. As WCW gained momentum due to the signings of Hall and Nash, Michaels held the championship for most of the year. Michaels' championship reign ended at the 1996 Survivor Series event, where he lost to Psycho Sid, his former bodyguard. Michaels recaptured the championship from Sid in January 1997 at the Royal Rumble. On a special episode of Raw dubbed Raw Thursday, Michaels vacated the WWF Championship. He explained to fans that he was informed by doctors that he had conjured a knee injury, and that he had to retire. His speech was regarded as controversial, as Michaels was allegedly unwilling to lose to Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13. Michaels contemplated thoughts of retirement and stated that he had to find his smile again, which he had lost somewhere down the line. After knee surgery by Dr. James Andrews, Michaels returned a few months later, briefly teaming with Stone Cold Steve Austin to win the WWF Tag Team Championship. In his autobiography, Michaels reveals about his real-life feud with Bret Hart, claiming that Bret did interviews on live television claiming that he, Michaels, was faking his whole injury. It was widely known by fans about the real-life personal issues going on between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart throughout the spring of 1997. Both men would go out on television and make personal, insulting remarks about one another. Shawn Michaels briefly left the WWF in June 1997 after a real-life backstage fight with Bret Hart at a house show, which stemmed from Michaels making an on-air remark alleging that Bret was having an affair with then WWF diva Sunny. Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin were still WWF Tag Team Champions at the time during the ongoing feud with the Hart Foundation, and a tournament was made to decide new tag champions. Michaels would return later that summer in July. At SummerSlam, Michaels officiated the WWF Championship match between WWF Champion The Undertaker and Bret Hart. The match ended in controversial fashion, with Michaels hitting Undertaker with a chair. Michaels was then forced to award the championship to his nemesis, Bret Hart. The next night on Raw, signs of a heel turn started to show as Michaels told the WWF fans what happened at SummerSlam was an accident and that he would deal with The Undertaker when the time came. At WWF One Night Only, held in Birmingham, England in September, Michaels defeated the British Bulldog to capture the WWF European Championship. The fans at the event were so appalled at the result of the match they booed Michaels out of the building, to the extent that they littered the ring with garbage, cementing his second heel turn. With this win, Michaels became the first Grand Slam champion. At the October pay-per-view event, In Your House, Bad Blood, Michaels and Undertaker participated in the first Hell in a Cell match. During the match, it saw Michaels fall off the side of the 15-foot-high structure through a table and saw him as the winner in the match. The match received a 5-star rating from Dave Meltzer. In the fall, Michaels joined forces with real-life friend, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Hunter's then-girlfriend, Chyna, and Rick Rude to form the stable, Degeneration X. Moving away from the family-oriented product, this marked the beginning of the WWF Attitude Era. Michaels continued his rivalry with Bret Hart and his reformed Hart Foundation, which was now a pro-Canada stable. Michaels taunted the group and Canada by engaging in acts, such as blowing his nose with and humping the Canadian flag. Michaels later claimed the flag desecration was Bret's idea. Michaels' feud with the Hart Foundation culminated in a championship match at Survivor Series in 1997 against Bret Hart. Michaels came out of this match, dubbed by fans the Montreal Screwjob, as the WWF champion. Michaels now held both the WWF and European Championship at the same time. Michaels dropped the European Championship to Degeneration X member, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, during a farcical match. First retirement. At the 1998 Royal Rumble, Michaels received a serious back injury in a casket match against The Undertaker. Michaels took a back body drop to the outside of the ring and hit his lower back on the casket, causing him to herniate 2 discs and crush one completely. This rendered Michaels unable to compete in the main event of the following month's No Way Out of Texas, In Your House as advertised, and forced him into retirement after losing the WWF Championship to Steve Austin at WrestleMania 14. After being gone for 5 months, Shawn Michaels would make a surprise return to the WWF as a guest commentator on the July 13 episode of Raw is War. Michaels would continue to make non-wrestling appearances on WWF programming, and on November 23, 1998, replaced Sergeant Slaughter as the WWF Commissioner, a portrayed matchmaker and rules enforcer, eventually joining Vince McMahon's group of wrestlers called the Corporation as a villain. Throughout late 1998 and early 1999, Michaels made regular television appearances on Raw, in which he scheduled matches, throwing around his authority, and sometimes even deciding the outcome of matches. On January 4, 1999 on Raw, Michaels rejoined DX as a fan favorite, but disappeared from WWF television for a few weeks to have back surgery, and by the time he returned, DX was on the way of dissolving within the next couple of months. Michaels made occasional appearances as the WWF Commissioner during the spring and summer of 1999, but remained absent from television until May 15, 2000, when he returned on Raw to declare himself the special guest referee for The Rock and Triple H's Iron Man match at Judgment Day. 1 month later, Michaels briefly reappeared on Raw to hand over the role of Commissioner to Mick Foley and afterwards did not make any in-ring appearances until mid-2002, appearing only once on WWF television to make a speech at WWF New York during Armageddon 2000. Michaels also had no part at all in the Invasion storyline. Believing that his wrestling career was over, Michaels was interested in training individuals who wanted to become professional wrestlers. He saw potential in using his name and opened the Shawn Michaels Wrestling Academy in 1999, after his lawyer Skip McCormick suggested the idea. Michaels left the academy in 2002, giving co-founder Rudy Boy Gonzalez sole responsibility due to Michaels' new contract with WWE. Michaels was also a sportscaster for San Antonio's local news for a short period during his retirement. On November 23, 1999, Michaels made a special appearance at FMW's Yokohama Arena show as the guest referee for the H vs. Fake Hayabusa main event. He got himself involved in the match when Fake Hayabusa delivered a low blow on him and he responded later on with sweet chin music. Return to World Wrestling Entertainment, NO, World Heavyweight Champion and feud with Triple H. In 2002, Michaels returned to WWE television after 18 months of absence. On the June 3 episode of Raw, Kevin Nash announced him as a new member of the recently reformed New World Order. Michaels was the only NO member to have never worked in WCW. After the NO had disbanded, Triple H appeared to make amends with Michaels. This was solidified when Michaels pleaded Triple H to return to Raw. Later on, they came down to the ring sporting their DX music and attire. When the pair was about to perform their trademark Suck It taunt, Triple H turned on Michaels by performing a pedigree on him. Continuing the angle, a week later, Triple H attacked Michaels from behind in a parking lot and put his head through a car window, in storyline. In response, Michaels challenged Triple H to a fight at SummerSlam, which Triple H accepted, laying the foundation for a rivalry that would last for several years. In his first official wrestling match since WrestleMania 14, Michaels won at SummerSlam, but was attacked by Triple H with a sledgehammer after the match. At Survivor Series, Michaels won the World Heavyweight Championship from Triple H in the first ever Elimination Chamber match. Michaels' reign as champion came to an end a month later when he lost the championship to Triple H in a 3 Stages of Hell match, a series of 3 matches in which wrestlers attempt to win the majority of matches, at Armageddon. Michaels then began a rivalry with Chris Jericho, after Jericho claimed that he was the next Shawn Michaels. On January 13, 2003, after Jericho won a battle royal to select his entry number for the Royal Rumble, choosing number 2 in order to start the match with Michaels, who had already been named number 1. At the Royal Rumble, Jericho, with the help of Christian, eliminated Michaels. Michaels defeated Jericho at WrestleMania 19. Despite this, Michaels was low-blowed after hugging with Chris Jericho. As a part of an ongoing feud with Triple H, the two competed alongside Chris Benoit in the main event match at WrestleMania 20 for the World Heavyweight Championship. The former DX partners both came up short in the match, however, as Benoit won the championship. At Bad Blood in June, Michaels lost to Triple H in a Hell in a Cell match. 4 months later, he lost a World Heavyweight Championship match against Triple H, after Edge interfered at Taboo Tuesday, when the fans voted for him ahead of Edge and Chris Benoit to face Triple H one more time. Following this, Michaels was out of action for a few months with a legit torn meniscus. Various feuds. At the Royal Rumble in 2005, Michaels competed in the Rumble match and eliminated Kurt Angle. In seeking revenge, Angle re-entered the ring and eliminated Michaels, and thus placed him in an ankle-lock submission hold, outside of the ring. Michaels issued a challenge to Angle for a match at WrestleMania 21, which Angle accepted when he appeared on Raw to attack Michaels. The following week on Raw, Marty Jannetty and Michaels had a one-time reunion as the Rockers and defeated Lara Copyright Assistance. 3 days later on SmackDown, Angle defeated Jannetty, after Angle made Jannetty submit to the ankle lock. To send a message to Michaels, Angle also humiliated Michaels' former manager, Sensational Sherry, when he applied the ankle lock hold on her. At WrestleMania 21 in April, Angle defeated Michaels by submission, again with an ankle lock. 2 months later, at a WrestleMania 21 rematch, Michaels defeated Angle at the Vengeance pay-per-view event. Following the events of WrestleMania 21, the next night on Raw, Muhammad Hassan and Daivari came out to confront and assault Michaels. On the April 11 episode of Raw, Michaels approached authority figure Eric Bischoff, in which he demanded a handicap match with Hassan and Daivari, a match consisting of one wrestler or team of wrestlers facing off against a team of wrestlers with numerical superiority such as 2 against 1, or 3 against 2. Bischoff refused to schedule the match, but informed Michaels to find a partner and he would grant him the match. Michaels then made a plea for Hulk Hogan to come back and team with him. On the April 18 episode of Raw, Hassan again led an attack on Michaels until Hogan appeared to save Michaels and accept his offer. At Backlash, Hassan and Daivari lost to Hogan and Michaels when Daivari was pinned. On the July 4 episode of Raw, Michaels and Hulk Hogan had a tag team match, which they won. During the post-match pose, Michaels hit Hogan with his superkick, knocking Hogan to the ground and making Michaels a villain for the first time since returning in 2002. The following week on Raw, Michaels appeared on Piper's Pit where he superkicked Roddy Piper and then challenged Hogan to a match at SummerSlam. Hogan defeated Michaels at SummerSlam, and after the match Michaels extended his hand to him, saying "I needed to know, and I found out," and he and Hogan shook hands. Michaels left the ring to allow Hogan to celebrate with the crowd, and Michaels once again became a fan favorite. Degeneration X reunion. On the December 26, 2005 episode of Raw, Vince McMahon lauded Michaels for his part in the Montreal Screwjob. Michaels said he was only being loyal to his company, he had moved on, and McMahon should move on as well. McMahon then began setting unusual stipulations for Michaels' matches and interfering on behalf of Michaels' opponents. During the Royal Rumble, McMahon made his way to the ring, and as Michaels stared at McMahon, Shane McMahon made a surprising appearance, eliminating Michaels from the match. On the February 13 episode of Raw, McMahon tried unsuccessfully to force Michaels to sign retirement papers. The following week, Michaels won a handicap match against the Spirit Squad and after the match, Michaels' former partner, Marty Jannetty, came down to help Michaels from the assault by the Spirit Squad. After the two reunited, McMahon offered Jannetty a contract if he kissed his ass. The following week, Jannetty refused McMahon's offer and instead took Chris Masters' Masterlock challenge. Michaels tried to help Jannetty, which ultimately resulted in Shane attacking Michaels and forcing him to kiss his father's behind. At Saturday night's main event, Shane defeated Michaels in a street fight, a match without disqualifications and where scoring conditions can occur anywhere, after he applied a sharpshooter on Michaels, which led to McMahon immediately ordering for the bell to be rung, even though Michaels did not submit, which was an allusion to the Montreal Screwjob. Despite interference from the Spirit Squad and Shane, Michaels defeated McMahon at WrestleMania 22 in a no-holds-barred match, a match where there are no disqualifications. At Backlash, the McMahons defeated Michaels and God in a tag team match, with help from the Spirit Squad in a no-disqualification match. On the May 22 episode of Raw, the Squad was scripted to injure Michaels' knee. This angle was written so that Michaels could have surgery on his knee, which had been legitimately injured for some time. In 2006, a series of events took place which suggested a reunion of Michaels and Triple H as DX. They began at WrestleMania 22, where both Michaels and Triple H performed the crotch chop during their matches. On Raw, the two continued to deliver chops, as Michaels feuded with Vince McMahon and Triple H went for the WWE Championship, repeatedly butting heads with Vince McMahon in the process. On the June 12 episode of Raw, DX officially reunited. During Triple H's gauntlet match, which had him compete against the Spirit Squad, Michaels came in to help Triple H, and the two did the DX crotch chops. At Vengeance, DX defeated the Spirit Squad in a €5-2 handicap match. They also defeated the Spirit Squad at Saturday night's main event in a 5-on-2 elimination match and defeated the McMahons at SummerSlam. At Unforgiven, DX once again defeated the McMahons and ECW World Champion The Big Show in a Hell in a Cell match. At Cyber Sunday, DX took on Rated RKO. The fan-selected referee Eric Biscoff allowed the illegal use of a steel chair to give Rated RKO the ill-gotten win and the plaudit of being the first tag team to defeat DX in a tag team match since their reformation in June 2006. At Survivor Series, however, Team DX emerged victorious against Team Rated RKO in a clean sweep victory. At New Year's Revolution, Triple H suffered a legit torn right quadriceps during their match with Rated RKO. Rated RKO claimed victory over DX, citing Triple H's injury, as the end of DX. On January 15, Michaels lived up to his word of dealing with Rated RKO, from his comments the previous week before, when he took out Randy Orton with a con-chair-to after a handicap match against Edge and Orton. Various feuds. On the January 29 episode of Raw, Michaels captured the World Tag Team Championship with WWE Champion John Cena after defeating Rated RKO. He then defeated both Edge and Orton in a triple threat number 1 contenders match on another episode of Raw to earn a shot at the WWE Championship. At WrestleMania 23, Cena retained the championship, after he made Michaels submit to the STFU. The next night on Raw, Michaels and Cena competed in 2 back-to-back 10-team battle royals, winning the first and losing the titles in the second to the Hardys when Michaels threw Cena over the top rope. Michaels' feud with Cena continued and he faced off with Cena, Edge and Randy Orton in a fatal 4-way match at Backlash for the WWE Championship. Cena retained the championship when Michaels performed Sweet Chin Music on Cena, causing him to fall on Orton, which gained Cena the pinfall. Michaels then entered a feud with Randy Orton when Orton claimed that he could beat Michaels. The week before their scheduled match at Judgment Day, after Michaels won a match against Edge, Orton interfered, punting Michaels in the head. Orton assaulted Michaels again, just prior to their match at Judgment Day, interrupting Michaels' interview segment. Michaels collapsed during the course of their match, causing Orton to win by referee stoppage. Afterwards, Orton continued the beating, when he performed an RKO to a fallen Michaels. Michaels was then removed out of the ring in a stretcher. During the feud, Michaels conjured a storyline concussion. This injury was used to keep Michaels out of action, as he required surgery for his knee. Michaels made his return on the October 8 episode of Raw, performing a superkick to newly crowned WWE Champion, Randy Orton, during his title ceremony at the end of the show and then celebrating over the knocked-out champion as Vince McMahon watched. At Cyber Sunday, Michaels was voted by the fans to face Orton for the WWE Championship. Though he won via disqualification when Orton hit Michaels with a low blow, which resulted in Orton retaining the championship. Michaels got another opportunity at the WWE Championship, when he was granted his rematch against Orton at Survivor Series. In their match, Michaels was banned from using Sweet Chin Music upon request by Orton, referring to as Michaels superkicking Orton week after week. Michaels lost the match, when Orton performed an RKO for the win. As part of the storyline involving Ric Flair, Michaels faced Flair in a career-threatening match at WrestleMania XXIV, in which he won by performing Sweet Chin Music and thus ending Flair's career. Afterwards, Batista confronted Michaels about his actions at WrestleMania, calling him selfish and egotistical. The two faced off at Backlash with Chris Jericho as the guest referee. Michaels won after faking a knee injury and performing Sweet Chin music. Jericho then confronted Michaels on this matter, in which Michaels admitted to faking the injury in order to defeat Batista. Michaels then defeated Jericho at Judgment Day. At One Night Stand, Michaels lost to Batista in a stretcher match, thus ending their feud. On the June 9 episode of Raw, Michaels was attacked by Chris Jericho during his talk show segment, The Highlight Reel, being thrown directly through a television screen. The following week, it was revealed that, within the context of the storyline, Michaels had suffered a detached retina. At the Great American Bash, a match between Michaels and Jericho was scheduled, in which Jericho assaulted Michaels' eye, which caused Jericho to win by referee stoppage. A month later at SummerSlam, Michaels announced his retirement from professional wrestling. That night, Jericho punched Michaels' wife in the face. On the next Raw, Michaels renounced his retirement and challenged Jericho to an unsanctioned match at Unforgiven, which Jericho accepted. The next week, they had an in-ring contract signing for the unsanctioned match. During this, they started to fight, causing a legit small triceps tear for Michaels. He was medically cleared to compete at Unforgiven, and beat Jericho so severely that the referee called the match. Later that night, Jericho replaced CM Punk in the World Heavyweight Championship Scramble match, and won the title. The next month, at No Mercy, Michaels lost a championship ladder match to Jericho. In December 2008, Michaels, having lost his family's savings due to the global recession, grudgingly accepted a one-year general employment contract from John Bradshaw Layfield. After failing to help JBL win the World Heavyweight Championship from John Cena at the Royal Rumble, and being derided for it, Michaels agreed to face JBL in All or Nothing match at No Way Out in February. Michaels won the match, letting him out of his contract early, while still receiving full payment. On the March 2 Raw, Michaels became the first person to defeat Vladimir Kozlov, and so earned a match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania XXV in April. The Undertaker defeated Michaels in a highly acclaimed match to extend his WrestleMania winning streak to 17-0. After WrestleMania, Michaels took a hiatus from WWE. Final storylines and retirement. Michaels returned to WWE programming in a series of segments that aired on the August 10, 2009 episode of Raw, where he had scripted left the WWE. Triple H met with Michaels at an office cafeteria in Texas where he was working as a chef. Throughout the segments, Triple H would try to convince Michaels to return to WWE and reform DX. After several incidents during the segments, Michaels agreed to team with Triple H to face the Legacy at SummerSlam. At the pay-per-view event, DX defeated Legacy. The two teams would exchange victories, with their feud concluding in October. 2 months later, at TLC, Tables, Ladders and Chairs, DX defeated Chris Jericho and The Big Show to win the unified WWE Tag Team Championship in a Tables, Ladders, and Chairs match. On the January 4, 2010 episode of Raw, Michaels buried the hatchet with longtime rival Bret Hart, as they shook hands and hugged in the ring. In contrast to the storylines featured on the show, this was in fact a real-life reconciliation which laid to rest animosities surrounding the Montreal Screwjob. While some cast doubts on its sincerity, both men have confirmed that it was indeed genuine. DX lost the Unified Tag Team Championship in a triple threat match to the team of The Miz and Big Show on the February 8 episode of Raw. The match also included the Straight Edge Society. At the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, Michaels cost The Undertaker the World Heavyweight Championship in the main event. At WrestleMania XXV, Michaels lost to The Undertaker and, as a result, he was forced to retire due to the match stipulation, the same way HBK ended Ric Flair's career. The following night, on the March 29 episode of Raw, Michaels gave an emotional farewell speech, departing with a familiar sentence, "Shawn Michaels has left the building." Hall of Famer and part-time appearances. On the December 14 Raw, Michaels won the Slammy Award for Moment of the Year for his match against The Undertaker at WrestleMania XXVI. Michaels accepted the award via satellite. 3 days later, he announced a long-term deal with WWE, where he will serve in an ambassadorial role. He made his in-person TV return at the December 11 Tribute to the Troops taping, where he and Triple H had a one-night-only DX reunion. He appeared on the January 10, 2011 Raw, where he was announced as a WWE Hall of Fame inductee. After being ridiculed by Alberto Del Rio later that night, Michaels hit him with Sweet Chin Music. On the March 28 Raw, Michaels addressed Triple H and The Undertaker about their match at WrestleMania XXVII. Michaels was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame on April 2 by Triple H. They were also joined by fellow Clique members Kevin Nash and Sean Waltman. He returned on the June 27 Raw, where he was confronted by CM Punk, and Superkick David Otunga and Michael McGillicuddy. Later that night, when Diamond Dallas Page's special appearance was interrupted by Drew McIntyre, he superkicked McIntyre. On February 13, 2012, he confronted Triple H about accepting The Undertaker's challenge for a Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania XXVII, and announced he'd be the special guest referee for it. August 6 was Shawn Michaels' Appreciation Night. He appeared on Raw, where he was confronted by Brock Lesnar, then again after the broadcast for the Appreciation Night ceremonies. On the January 24 WWE NXT, he announced a tournament to crown the inaugural NXT Tag Team Champions. On the April 1, 2013 Raw, Michaels returned to offer to corner Triple H in his match with Lesnar at WrestleMania 29. During that match, Michaels superkicked an interfering Paul Heyman, helping Triple H win and keep his job. He returned on the May 27 Raw in a backstage segment with John Cena, and again on the SummerSlam pre-show. Heel turn: in October 2013, Michaels won a fan poll to become special guest referee for the Hell in a Cell match between Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton for the vacant WWE Championship. There, he superkicked Bryan, allowing Orton to pick up the win. The next night on Raw, he explained that he was upset with Bryan for attacking Triple H during the match. He degraded Bryan for not showing him respect, turning heel for the first time since 2005. Bryan put him in his Yes Lock finisher to end the segment. On December 9, he presented Bryan with the award for Superstar of the Year. Later that night, Bryan hit Michaels with a running knee after Michaels had super-kicked CM Punk. Personal life: Hickenbottom's first marriage, to Teresa Wood, soon ended in an amicably settled divorce. He married former WCW Nitro girl Rebecca Hickenbottom on March 31, 1999, at the Grassland Wedding Chapel in Las Vegas, Nevada. Only the couple and an Elvis impersonator were present. Their son, Cameron Cade, was born on January 15, 2000, and a daughter, Cheyenne, followed. His cousin Matt Bentley is also a professional wrestler, having wrestled in TNA and WWE. Hickenbottom has several tattoos. On his bicep is a heart with a sword through it, and a snake around both in the shape of an S. On his ring finger is an F for his wife Rebecca, and his children's names are on his left wrist, like a bracelet. On his left leg is a picture of his wife, on the right is the state of Texas. On his right hip is a small broken heart with HBK above it. In 1996, Hickenbottom posed for a non-nude layout in Playgirl magazine. Only after he posed did he discover Playgirl has a mostly gay readership, for which some of his fellow wrestlers teased him. He is ambidextrous, and had trouble differentiating between right and left, which affected his football games as a boy. He uses his right hand to draw and color and his left hand to write. He typically kicks with his right leg in Sweet Chin Music, but uses either arm for his signature elbow drop, depending on position. Hickenbottom is a born-again Christian. He was raised as a Roman Catholic, but became a non-denominational Christian because of his wife. His ring attire often incorporated cross symbols. During ring entrances, he often made a praying gesture on his knees while his pyrotechnics went off. He was in the audience for a televised service of John Hagee's Cornerstone Church in his hometown, San Antonio, where he is also a Bible teacher. In 2008, he appeared on a Trinity Broadcasting Network program with fellow professional wrestler Sting. In wrestling finishing moves, modified figure 4 leg lock was used rarely after 2008, Sweet Chin Music, teardrop suplex 1992 1993. Signature moves, arm trap crossface 2007 2010, backhand chop, belly to back suplex, diving double axe handle, diving elbow drop, with theatrics, dropkick, figure 4 leg lock, flying forearm smash followed by a kip up, inverted atomic drop, moonsault, sometimes while springboarding to the outside, skin the cat, slingshot crossbody. Stables and tag teams, The Rockers, Two Dudes with Attitudes, The Clique, Degeneration X, The Corporation. Managers, Diesel, Jose Copyright Lothario, Sensational Sherry, Psycho Sid, Rick Rude, Luna Vachon, Triple H Hornswoggle. Nicknames, The Heartbreak Kid, Sexy Boy, The Showstopper, The Most Honored Champion in WWE History, The Headliner, The Main Event, The Icon, Mr. WrestleMania, Mr. Hall of Fame, The Best of the Best. Entrance themes, Sexy Boy by Sensational Sherry, Jim Johnston, Jimmy Hart and J.J. Maguire, Sexy Boy by Shawn Michaels, Jim Johnston, Jimmy Hart and J.J. Maguire, Break It Down by the DX Band, Sexy Boy by Jim Johnston, Shawn Michaels, Jimmy Hart and J.J. Maguire. Championships and accomplishments. American Wrestling Association, AWA World Tag Team Championship with Marty Jannetty. Central States Wrestling, NWA Central States Tag Team Championship with Marty Jannetty. Continental Wrestling Association, AWA Southern Tag Team Championship with Marty Jannetty. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, PWI Feud of the Year vs. Chris Jericho, PWI Match of the Year vs. Marty Jannetty on Monday Night Raw on May 17, PWI Match of the Year vs. Razor Ramon in a ladder match at WrestleMania X, PWI Match of the Year vs. Diesel at WrestleMania 11, PWI Match of the Year vs. Bret Hart in an Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12, PWI Match of the Year vs. Chris Benoit and Triple H at WrestleMania 20, PWI Match of the Year vs. Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21, PWI Match of the Year vs. Vince McMahon in a no-holds-barred match at WrestleMania 22, PWI Match of the Year vs. John Cena on Raw on April 23, PWI Match of the Year vs. Ric Flair at WrestleMania XXIV, PWI Match of the Year vs. The Undertaker at WrestleMania XXV, PWI Match of the Year vs. The Undertaker in a career vs. streak match at WrestleMania XXVI, PWI Most Inspirational Wrestler of the Year, PWI Most Popular Wrestler of the Year, PWI ranked him number 1 of the top 500 singles wrestlers of the year in the PWI 500 in 1996, PWI ranked him number 10 of the top 500 singles wrestlers of the PWI years in 2003, PWI ranked him number 33 of the top 100 tag teams of the PWI years with Marty Jannetty in 2003. Texas All-Star Wrestling, TASW Texas Tag Team Championship with Paul Diamond. Texas Wrestling Alliance, TWA Heavyweight Championship. World Wrestling Federation World Wrestling Entertainment, World Heavyweight Championship, World Tag Team Championship with Diesel, Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, and Triple H. WWF Championship, WWF European Championship, WWF Intercontinental Championship, WWE Tag Team Championship with Triple H, Royal Rumble, 4th Triple Crown Champion, 1st Grand Slam Champion, WWE Hall of Fame, Slammy Award for Best Slammin' Jammin' Entrance, Slammy Award for Best Threads, Slammy Award for Squared Circle Shocker 1 for Collapsing. Owen Hart accepts the award for making Michaels collapse, Slammy Award for Master of Mat Mechanics, Slammy Award for Match of the Year vs. Razor Ramon in a ladder match at SummerSlam, Slammy Award for Leader of the New Generation, Slammy Award for Best Finisher, Slammy Award for Match of the Year vs Bret Hart in an Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12, Slammy Award for Match of the Year vs Ric Flair at WrestleMania XXIV, Slammy Award for Match of the Year vs The Undertaker at WrestleMania XXV, Slammy Award for Moment of the Year vs The Undertaker at WrestleMania XXVI, Slammy Award for Double Cross of the Year for turning on Daniel Bryan and costing him the WWE Championship at Hell in a Cell. In October 1990, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty defeated the Hart Foundation for the title. Despite winning the match, the win and reign are not recognized by WWE, as the ring ropes broke and the match was not aired on television. As a result, Michaels is only officially recognized as a 5-time World Tag Team Champion. Wrestling Observer Newsletter, 5-star match vs Razor Ramon in a ladder match at WrestleMania X, 5-star match vs The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood. Best Babyface, Feud of the Year vs Triple H and Chris Benoit, Feud of the Year vs Chris Jericho, Match of the Year vs Razor Ramon in a ladder match at WrestleMania X, Match of the Year vs Chris Jericho in a ladder match at No Mercy, Match of the Year vs The Undertaker at WrestleMania XXV, Match of the Year vs The Undertaker at WrestleMania XXVI, Most Charismatic, Tag Team of the Year with Marty Jannetty as the Rockers, Worst Feud of the Year with Triple H vs Shane and Vince McMahon, Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame. Luchas de Apuestas Record. See also Texas Wrestling Academy. References. Notes, Assail, Shawn. Mooniam, Mike. Sex, Lies, and Headlocks, The Real Story of Vince McMahon and World Wrestling Entertainment. Crown. ISBN A1-4000-5143-6. Michaels, Shawn. Furstenbaum, Aaron. Heartbreak and Triumph, The Shawn Michaels Story. New York, New York, WWE Books. ISBN A978-0-7434-9380-2. 2007 Wrestling Almanac and Book of Facts. Wrestling Euro Unregistered Trademark S Historical Cards. 2007 External links, Official website, Shawn Michaels on Facebook, Shawn Michaels on Twitter, WWE Hall of Fame profile, Shawn Michaels at the Internet Movie Database.